All right, and we're pretty much live. So, hello everybody again. Welcome back. And I'd like to introduce Orlando Sela and Wei Zhao. They're going to be giving us a wealth. And I'd like to introduce. I always do that. Sorry. So they're going to be giving us a wealth of knowledge about flute stuff. What exactly are you guys talking about today?
So today we're going to be talking about extended techniques for flute, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to demonstrate most of them are for single flute, and then we're going to play stuff for two flutes just to demonstrate a couple of things. And then as we go along, we're just going to do experimentation. So if you guys have your Sibelius or Finale ready, I don't know what is the best way to do it, to like share your screen. We can play something for you right off the bat.
Awesome. That is incredible. Thanks, you guys. Well, I'll hand it right over to you. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to be talking a little bit about things that you can do with the flute, and we have divided it into two things: extended techniques that you can do with air, and extended techniques that you do without air. Okay, so I'm gonna start. You wanna? Mm-hmm. So good. So the very first thing I wanna tell you guys, and this is very important for me, that everybody keeps this in mind. And I always start with this every year. This time is going to be a little bit different, but I want to start with. Let's see if I can. Oh, I cannot share my screen. Unfortunately, I think you have disabled that.
Sorry, hold on. My bad. All right, now you're good to go.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So now everybody should be able to see a screen that says the monochordal philosophy of the flute. Am I doing this right? Somebody say something. I cannot read the chat, so.
I think so.
Okay, cool. So pretty much the idea behind this is to tell you a little bit about how we should think about the flute for many of the techniques that we are going to be using today. And as always, I can share this with Elizabeth for later. She can share it with everybody. Okay, so this is the range of the flute, right? The only reason why I am putting that B within parentheses is because some flutes have that B and some flutes don't have that B. Okay, so for example, you wanna come with me? So we're gonna do this. So over here, mm-hmm. And you can see that my flute. It's this way. Sorry, first time using it. My flute has 3 keys in the bottom. That's a B foot, and Wei's has 2 keys. That's a C foot, which means that she can get down to the low C, which is the middle C in the piano. I can get to the B right below it. Okay, does that make sense, everybody? Yeah, sure. So pretty much, it's a difference than the middle C. Okay, it's very simple. All right. So the range of the flute is just pretty much that one. Those high Fs and everything. I mean, there's a few more notes there. So again, it depends on a good day or not, and then we'll talk a little bit about it later. Okay, but that's pretty much the range of the flute. Now you probably knew that already, but what I want to drive to is a new way to think about the range of the flute, and I'm going to ask you to think about it this way. Okay, so every time you have the flute, it's pretty much, a flute is made out of pretty much one pipe that is, pretty simple, right? Once you overblow, you get to the higher octave, right? And then you have to overblow again to get to the next set of partials and so forth, okay? So I like to call those the breaks, and those are usually in the C sharp area there. So I have my friend Gerardo's flute, which is this teeny little 5 thing that he made for me, right? And as you can see, it has nothing. It's just one little piece of pipe. It doesn't even have a thumb key, right? So this is again based on a 5, right? On a on an old flute. Okay. So once I play my D, right? I run out of holes. So then the next thing I'm gonna do is play the same octave, the same fingering, and blow, right? And I'm gonna keep overblowing. Right? And then it can get really complicated to be able to do that, okay? To get higher and higher and higher and higher. So when you see the modern flute, excuse me. When you see the modern flute, you have all of this extra piping, but this is essentially the same thing as the guy. So that flute gets up to here, and then we have extra notes in the bottom, and then it goes, you have all the extra keys that are chromatic, but basically the hand position is the same, and I have a thumb key and whatnot, okay? Yeah, I also play Chinese flute. I have a bunch of those. Yes, same idea. You don't have anything except overblow, okay? So what ends up happening is 2 things. In order to get above the first break that you see that there, you have to overblow, okay? You have to just blow harder, right? And once you get past this very, very, very last one, right? Then everything else here is extra fingerings, okay? So the fingerings are made so that they sound pretty, but these are all overtones. These are all harmonics, really. It's just that this one, the very first one, is the fundamental tone, and then you have the first partial, and then you have, probably the third partial, because if I finger the C, I'm gonna get the G in between as well, right? So that's why the title of it is, how technology has pimped our instruments, okay? The idea is that, if I play a Chinese flute, or if I play this little plastic flute, right? I'm using the same fingerings, but this one is so nice. It's such a great technological piece, right? It has a certain shape, and the holes are shaped in a way that it doesn't sound like a harmonic, but those are actually harmonics. If I play the next one, now it sounds like a harmonic. So the instrument makers, to make it sound pretty, they make different fingerings. So there's all sorts of combinations in order to make that sound pure, as opposed to, right? So again, it's always nice to have, what can I say? Sorry, I'm sorry to switch video here. So it's always nice to have that ability to play something really high, something very pure. But remember, it's smoke and mirrors. This is all overtones. These are harmonics. Any questions? Somebody was speaking.
Yeah, I just had a question real quick. If you wanted that overblown harmonic sound at the top register, would you notate that as harmonics?
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay, so sorry.
No, perfect. Any good questions? Yeah. So and again, if that, save it so that I can answer that later. Let's see. Somebody's asking about this one. It's not a piccolo. It's just, again, you can even see it's a PVC pipe. It even has like the information there. Like a friend of mine made it for me, right? He was working as an acoustician, so he had to measure the holes and whatnot. And when he was done, he gave it to me, right? And then somebody was asking about the head joints. Yeah, come over and show your head joint. So my head joint looks like this, and this is ways, right? So again, they are modern head joints. They're nothing extraordinary. It's just the materials are different. This one is made out of tambuti wood, and the lip plate is grenadilla. and this is a headgeon made out of oromite, meaning it's gold outside, but inside is silver. So let me see. Anchorman, yeah, later. Yes, it does. It does definitely impact the sound. So the density of the instrument, right, of the wall is gonna make it harder or going to be softer. So, for example, this is gonna be much a softer sound than a metal head joint, and silver is gonna be harder or brighter than gold, and platinum is really, really, really hard. So it's gonna be pretty bright. So that's why Barres wrote for that particular flute when it was written, and George Barrère, had it. So it's okay. I just don't let me get out of in too much tangents, okay? Because I have a list of things to do. So thank you. Cool. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep going. Okay. So okay, just continue with this. And again, I know this might be a little bit boring, but eventually, we're going to get to the practical part of it. Okay. So notice in the last break that I have totally skipped the partial in between, right? There's also an A, right? There's there's that second, third partial. Actually, if you guys can tell me, is the fundamental known as the first partial, or is the fundamental known as the fundamental? I always get confused about that.
The fundamental I thought was the lowest of those that it plays.
Right. So that's what I thought. Like the fundamental is fundamental, and then the next overtone is partial one, or is it that the fundamental is already called partial one? That is my confusion, because I heard it both ways.
I think like someone's saying fundamental is the lowest, and then the first partial is the next.
Okay. Okay, partial one is after the fundamental. Okay, thank you guys for that clarity. So, so this will be the first partial, and then the second partial here is missing. So this is the third partial here. Okay, so you guys can see it there a little bit. Okay, so why is this important? Well, there is going to be many different uses for this. These are all the partials that one can get from a flute, right? And you're gonna notice that they are going to be very different depending on the note that you get. Okay, so I wanted to explain a couple of things here. If I play the fundamental, which in this place is the white note head there, I can get all of these partials, right? Pretty much all of them soft until I get here, that mezzo piano one. And then I'm gonna have to really put a lot of air pressure in there, okay? And the other thing to notice is that the higher you go with the fundamental, the partials diminish, right? So I actually have two B fundamentals, which is kind of cool. I have the low B fundamental and the next one here, the other B fundamental. And as you can see, as soon as the tube gets shorter, meaning less fingers are pressed down, you're gonna get less partials. Okay, so and again, everybody knows this pretty much if you look at a cello or a bass, right? So in my low B, I cover everything, so the air is coming out here, right? So the tube length it actually goes down to here, right? Right? But if I do this, again, I cannot get it. But the tube, it's only as far as the tube goes, right? Then the air escapes. So you can think about the tube length going from here to here or from here to here, right? So depending on that, you have the different things, okay? So why is that important? Okay, one very interesting thing for you guys to know. When you're writing tremolos, stay within the breaks, and this is the most important thing that I can tell you today. If you write a tremolo between any of these notes connected by a line, there will not be any problem. If you write a note here and a note there, things might happen because I have to actually like switch my angle, my lip position in order to make it play. If I am in between the breaks, I am safe. And you can remember the breaks, very simple, is from D to C sharp, from D to C sharp. You can think about it in a general way. Okay, that is the one that will be most practical. I should actually share the screen, might be easier. Okay, so for example, if I and I'm not gonna do the tremolo. Oh no, I lost my little thing here that I had my no, C and C sharp, it's good. View, sorry. Oh, thank you. Keep here. I cannot believe navigator now. I don't need the keypad. There it is. I don't know why it's not showing. Now it is. Thank you. Thank you, Austin. So I'm gonna skip over the right, and I'm gonna write a tremolo in between those two notes. So that is right in between the right. No problem. If I do this, I have to move my mouth like crazy in order for me to go. So it's not gonna be as stable, okay? And the only reason I have to do that is because I have to get to the next partial, the next break, okay? So that's why you want to stay within those breaks. If I play the F an octave lower, no worries. So, right? So, C sharp to D does blow, but you have this. But that's, it's called a trail, right? So if you wanted to do, you can trail it flat. So you can do some trill keys to get over to the next one. That might help. You might have to ask your flutist about it, right? But they change between overs, so that's why it's not going to be pretty steady. So yeah. Any question? Again, as long as you stay within those breaks, your tremolos are going to be safe. Okay. What's next? Unless there's questions right now, we're gonna get to that in a second. Cool. Okay. So those are all, things that you can do with all the overtone series. But remember, right now, just keep that in the mind for the rest of the rest of the lecture is gonna be the breaks from D to C sharp, D to C sharp, and D upwards, right? And remember that the flute in the fundamental, you can go all the way down to C, sometimes to B. Okay, cool. All right. So we're gonna, composers use overblowing for playing all sorts of, colors, right? And this one is an example from the 70s. Okay, you wanna play this one? This one is the right. Okay, so this is a great little piece, and here is my my trick question for all y'all. Knowing that this is from the 70s, do you care to guess who probably wrote it? If there's a flute player in the audience, don't give it away. Ian Anderson, Takemitsu. Lemao. You mean Robert Dick? It's actually from the 1870s. I forgot to tell you guys. So this is a pretty old technique. And the idea behind this technique is to imitate an old caval sounding. Okay? So this is like um, Doppler radar. I don't think so. But the idea behind this is to imitate that caval sounding Bulgarian-Hungarian sound, right? In fact, this is a Hungarian fantasy, Hungarian pastoral fantasy. So it's supposed to sound like those Hungarian flutes. And when you get to this part, right? So again, as you can see, already back there, they were starting to experiment with, you know, how to work with these overtones in order to make it sound cool. Okay. All right. I'm looking at my cheat sheet. Okay. So overtones are cool, and they will apply also to things that you do inside the tube of the flute. That's a great question. No, I think what he wrote, pianissimo, is just because he wanted it to be very soft. And then he has a fortissimo at the end. I also think because it's pastoral, he wants it to make like the shepherd is now very far away or something like that. But yes, you can control the dynamic of the harmonics, okay? And when I send you this, you're gonna notice that there is a lot of dynamic markings there because it's gonna take some time, you know, to get those things. Oh, the other thing, as you probably already know, is the overtones get closer and closer and closer as you go higher. So some of these are so close that you just get the cluster of notes. You cannot separate them because it's just not precise enough. Okay, that works also inside the mouth. So you can also play, you know, the right? So you can also play inside of the mouth and getting the overtones to happen. It sounds completely different, and it actually sounds a major seventh below. And we're gonna get back to that in a very interesting technique called the jet whistle. And the jet whistle, you know, which you guys love and already know, is just pretty much playing, right? So basically what I'm doing is just going very fast, right? So if I do that really fast, it sounds like that jet whistle thing, okay? But it is all harmonics. It's all just going over the overtone series really quick, okay? Some of you already have written whistles for us, and I think I have a guy here that you might have heard of. This is Salvatore. Let me find the toothy place. Yeah, okay. So those are all jet whistles. And again, keep in mind, jet whistles are probably, it's just pretty much, you have your fundamental, which is here, and then everything is done by overblowing, by doing dynamics, okay? So Sharino is pretty good about it in that the higher the arrow, that means the louder, right? And also the higher, okay? So if I am playing, this one is very good. If I'm playing this part here, there you go. So if I play this part here, pretty much what I'm doing is just overblowing more and more and more and more, and then coming back down over that E flat. and that's what it is. And what I'm doing pretty much is just the whole entire, right? So it's just overtone series going up very, very, very quickly, and that's the jet whistle. Questions about that? Anything? Okay, yeah. So cool. I'm gonna keep on going. One of the cool things about this is that you can actually, with the harmonics in flute, you can actually change the intonation because you can change the angle of the fundamental. That's really hip. That's really cool because in a violin, for example, as far as I know, if you have a note, if you strike from that note, you lose the harmonic. But in flute, when you have that note, you can actually move ahead and you can move the fundamentals. You can actually change the pitch of that, which is kind of cool. He did not. The overtone series is the same for every instrument, every sound made. It's always going to be the same. It's going to be the same ratio, right? Octave, fifth, fourth, blah 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 blah, right? So it's going to be different fundamentals, right? So you can do. So you can do all sorts of really cool things because the fundamental changes. So it's basically your changes the chords. Yeah. Okay. What else? Okay. You know, I have so much to talk, but I'm actually gonna go away from this, and I'm going to do something completely different. We're gonna talk about glissandos. Okay. And there's two kinds of glissandos. Wei and I had a terrible fight, right? For what? She forgot. No, it's kidding. We were playing one of you guys' piece, and you know we have microtones in that piece, right? So we discussed. Okay, no, this is the way to do this microtone. No, this is the way to do this microtone. No, this is the way to do this microtone. Okay, so there's different ways to do microtone. Okay. And when I mean microtone, of course, that will become gliss as well. Okay, so the flute is a pretty flexible instrument. Okay, so when I'm warming up, if I'm playing, I don't know, my A, I can bend down. Can bend up a little bit less. It's almost like a quarter tone up, right? But for the one, it's almost a half step, right? And the idea behind telling you that is that we use that sometimes for microtones. So right? So we have to use a little combination of things to do. Okay. There's another way to do microtone, in which I actually use fingerings, right? And I believe this is a fingering that I was using for Alvin Spit. Right, and that's another way to bring the pitch down. Okay, you did your come here so they can see you. How did you did your glissando?
I think from C, 1, 2.
Exactly.
Some like I can. Like kind of things.
Yeah, you can also do the key. So those are the techniques that Wei was using for her microtones. Okay. There is actually a bunch of microtone fingerings that one can find easily on the internet. That is right now it's so popular, and you're gonna find different styles. Okay, just be mindful that you look for the right flute, because right now there are microtonal flutes out there, and you just want to make sure that you are finding microtone fingerings for the right flute. So again, I have a story. Ryan, are you there? When Ryan wrote this piece a long time ago, he used fingerings that were awesome, but they were for an Eva Kingma. Yes, Eva Kingma. I believe it was a microtonal bass flute or something like that. Okay, so I don't have a microtonal bass flute, so I had to come up with a whole entire set of fingerings. And he never talks to me ever after that. No, just kidding. But you know, it was a different thing. So just be careful that you find the right microtonal fingerings. Okay. Somebody's asking about the keys. Yeah. So with the mouth, you can bend a lot downwards. Okay, and that's something to keep in mind. Probably about a half step. Okay. And what I mean probably about a half step is because the higher the pitch, the more you can bend. Okay, so if I'm going here, I'm almost at the B flat. If I'm here, it's not even a B flat, right? So we used to have an exercise. Right? So to try to get low in the lower octave takes even more effort to go down. Okay? So, but that can be used for any note in the flute if you want to slide down. Okay? Now, there are two ways to do really good glissandos with the flute, and those are these notes that you see here. Okay, and I'm gonna type them up for a second in a second. Okay, so between the B flat and G, right, and then between the D and F. Right, or even there. Oh, sorry. So anyway, so as you can see, there's a way that you can slide a little bit better with the fingers. Okay. So again, the only problem getting there is the break. So going from G to D is no good. Again, we're back to that break that I told you guys at the beginning. Okay, so just be mindful about that. And the ones pretty much between these. Sorry about the sound. So if between these guys, you can gliss with the fingerings pretty easy. D, G, right? You know, you can, you know, once you get to the B flat, actually, I want to say, you know, in between those, you can get there pretty easy. Okay. And again, of course, you can do that, and then also, you know, in this place, because it's going to be you know, is the octave, right? So between those two notes, you can gliss very easy with your fingerings, and every flute player should be able to do that. Okay. So again, remember, stay within those breaks. Why not B flat, C, and C sharp? Because we don't have holes in those keys. The B flat, C, they don't have holes, so it's very hard to do that. Okay. Any questions? Anything I'm missing for the time being about that?
Maybe with finger.
Yeah.
The faster one, like the chromatic.
Yeah, and then of course there's always a chromatic glissando. Ways reminding me about that. Right, but you know, it's just going more like a chromatic scale. When you're writing any chromatic glissando like that, sometimes if the note is very long, like if it's a whole note, just be mindful that you might want to put that starting the last beat or starting the last eighth note or something like that. Otherwise, you might get there something very slow that doesn't sound like a glissando. That's very minimal. That's very minimal. So, okay, cool. All right. So before we go into anything else a little bit more controversial, is there anybody who wants to try something for me or for Wade to play? Something that you want to try a glissando, you want to ask a question about a particular overtone, a particular thing that you might want to show, you might want to have.
Yes, I'm wondering about notating playing on the mouthpiece, like the when you're not like playing the the mouthpiece harmonics without the jet whistle. Because you
Yes.
did them. How would you notate that? Because you did something where you were doing. It was not quite the whistle, but it was still that kind of thing. I'm not sure I know how to explain what you did.
Right. So no, I know. I think I know exactly what you mean. Okay. Um, Let me see if I can find the notation very very easily, and I should be able to. Okay. So I'm easy to say. You can always come up with your very own notation, right? That's okay. Delaney, let me try to find some. Um, because all of the pieces I have, none of them have that notation, which is pretty much um, a black square. It's pretty much like a black square on top of the um, on top of a note. Okay, so I'm gonna show you that I found it. Okay. Oh, I want to share. Okay, so Max Delaney, this composer, he actually makes the distinction here in embouchure positions about how to put the mouth, how to put the flute in your mouth, right? So away is pretty much like outwards, and then you go normal, which is the U, and then in, and then all the way covered, right? That's the way that he does it. Okay, and I think I might have an example here. Okay, so that bar that you see there, um, you start with the regular one, and then you are trilling those trill keys. Okay, so it goes inside like that, and then goes up again, outside again. Okay, does that answer your question? I'm sorry, I don't know who.
Yeah, that answered. Natalie had a question, but she's struggling with unmuting. So I'm going to forward her question to you. And she said, earlier when you showed those overtones, were you referring to those? Were you saying those are audible just playing the lower note, or just the next notes that would happen if you overblow?
Let me see. When it's audible, just playing the lower note, or just the next note that would happen when you overblow. So you are always thinking about the overtone series. So you can actually play an overtones at different ways, and I'm not entirely sure when. Let's see. Just playing the lower note, or just the next notes that would happen when you overblow. So it depends, because you can, as you know, if you follow the overtone series, you can change the overtones, right? So for example, if I play that F sharp that you see here, or if I play an F sharp, right, I cannot get the overtone, some of the series here, right? The series changes completely. So in order to get the overtones, you always want to finger the fundamental, like the real fundamental. So again, if I play that B, I get all of this. If I play this fundamental, I cannot get a lot of the ones before. I hope that answers Natalie's question. Yes, for Austin, the that's why you will get C4 to A4 tremolo, switching between extreme airiness and overblowing. You can add flutter tone to everything. Yeah, we're gonna get to all of that. Yeah. It's totally good. The answer is yes. As long as the finger is moving, you can add key clicks to anything. Yeah, and we're gonna talk a little bit about that in a second. Those are all great questions.
I was wondering if it's possible to overblow on the glissandi and have harmonics while overblowing. Yeah.
I guess that's a yes.
Very nice.
I have a question. You said screen sharing is fine if you want to pull up a specific example of something,
Go ahead.
or would that be like later on?
Oh, I have a bunch of examples here, ready to go depending on what we are talking about.
Okay. It's something I just wanted to see in a piece I wrote for two flutes where there's a lot of like bending off the note involved, but I don't know if, because there are some ordinary notes and there are bending notes, if there's not enough time in between if you're like lipping off to make the bend possible. Here, let me share my screen. I have two Ians for that purpose. Share screen.
Yeah.
I can't.
If you can share your screen, we'll play it.
Okay, it's not letting me on the other. There's like a black screen that says Ian. That's not the one talking right now. Shoot. Okay. Trying now. Okay. Yes. All right. This. If there's enough time in between, because each of the F sharps is gesturally bent down to kind of imitate this kind of ethereal, ghostly sighing. And I'm not sure if it's enough time, and the tempo's 84, so it's not too fast, but I was just curious what your stance on it was.
What do you want to play? One or two? You want to play two? Okay. So we're going to hack it. Sorry. But
It's fine. Yeah.
So, for something like that. Okay? Okay. Oh. So you can see that even at the beginning we can bend that a lot, right?
Yeah.
I might actually add a finger for the bending.
I think maybe 2 beats. I think is good for the timing.
Yes, it's true. Wei says that having those 2 beats for the timing is really good.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just pressing a little bit there, and then just lowers a little bit. So I'm just using a leverage there. You want to try it once again? Yeah. Is that okay? I mean, as you can see, it can be done.
Yeah. No, that's incredible. Let me stop sharing the screen for a moment.
Thanks. And
Yeah,
then,
no, it's really, really, really good, informative.
let me tell you what we're talking about. If you can see, I'm doing this with my finger, and you can tell or you can even write it. And just pressing ever so slightly, and it helps to bring down the pitch a little bit more without making it an actual note change. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Anything else? Any other?
Yeah, I've got one actually. So this has to do in regards to singing while playing. I know it's possible, but like, here, let me share my screen quick. There is a certain passage that I have that I'm just not sure how well it works because it's close together. I don't know if you can see that bottom line. I'm trying to zoom in right now, but I can't. There we go. This bit right here, the last two lines.
Great. So yeah, let's talk about singing and playing, right? So it's totally doable. Notice that I am singing low. Sorry, I was singing a B flat. I went too low. So one of the things to notice about singing and playing is the range of the flute player, and that is something that you might want to consider. But it's totally doable.
Awesome.
You want to try it or no? Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
No. This is great. This is why this is so good that you guys can share your scores so quickly. Let me get to something. This is good because I had actually planned on showing some singing and playing at the same time as well. Let me see if I can find it. Which one I want to show first? Let's do this one first. Toshio Hosokawa, familiar with him maybe? Japanese composer, very cool. So let me show you what he does. He's really nice. Oh, I want to try to zoom in a little bit. So it's voice below and flute above. Did you notice that there's an 8 within parentheses below that treble clef? And that is Toshio's way to saying, if you're a guy, you don't have to sing falsetto, and if you are a woman, you can sing at pitch, right? So the whole. So if I sing it as a tenor or if I sing it at pitch, then it's going to change a little bit about how it is. Then the other thing I wanted to show you is how Robert Dick does it. Where are you, Robert? Robert Dick uses a square hole notation in order to put the singing. So the singing is square and all of the other notes are played. So that's another way to do it. And then somebody wrote this piece for me one time, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it now because it's tricky, but he wrote kind of like this incredibly difficult counterpoint. Sorry, it's been a while. So anyway, so you can, there's very different ways to do singing and playing, and you can notate it different ways, and the sky is the limit. It's just a matter of little practice, and and whatnot.
So I had a question about the vocal multiphonics there. When I do them on my instrument, which is like euphonium, and I get close to the pitch that I'm on, like I'm like singing almost the same pitch that I'm on, you kind of get that interference and it's a little rough on the throat. Do you have like things to watch out for as far as like endurance issues with the multiphonics, like that wear on you more than other things? Does that make sense?
Yes. So it's the same idea. The closer you get to the pitch that you're singing, is going to make a little bit of interference, like you said, right? So octaves are pretty safe, fifths are pretty safe, and then as soon as you're getting higher to the you wanna try that one? So it's the same. It's the same for everybody. It's just like everything. Like like when it gets too close, like these two instruments out of tune.
Yeah, just try them low
Yeah, Karen. I did not. What is the? Oh, Brooks question. Yeah. What is? Yes, Brooks. Yeah, it does require a lot more air than usual. Okay. The cool thing about that also, and I think I have it here in. It's going to take me a little bit of time to find it, so I might just skip it. But you probably are familiar with Brian Fernyhough, right? So, and I cannot find the example because it's buried in some crazy looking scores. I mean, I have Cassandra's Dream Song in front of me, right? And pretty much one of the things that you can do with the air and singing, you can shift between that. So you can have so you can shift between more voice, less voice, more air, less air. And yes, you can. It takes more air, so it's important to train your flute player by if you're playing something that requires to be an octave high, I'm doing the extra thing with my lips. I have to press my lips. In order to compensate for that lack of air that I'm using. Also, it takes a lot of air to use flutter tone. The different kinds of flutter tone take a lot of air. Yeah. Anything else? Any other trials?
Yeah, I have a question on glissing downward. It might be easier to share the screen so I can explain. So, when you have a interval wider than what you can actually gliss, but you sort of wanted to just give the sense that it's dropping downward, and then you just not fret, what do you guys call it, finger a new note. Is there a better, I want to show you how I notated it and see if there's a better way to do it. This is technically for alto flute, but
Oh,
yeah.
we did but okay.
So, like for example, this is too wide to actually gliss, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit. So that's the closest I can get right now. So what I'm doing is I don't know if you can see me while you're seeing the screen, but
Yeah.
what I'm doing is I'm lipping it down. I actually started to experiment with these three fingers. So I'm doing a little mixture of it, but it's not a pure. I'm not getting all the way down. Right, I have to fake it a little bit.
Yeah.
Brooks, you said this was for alto flute, right?
Yeah.
What if Orlando played it a perfect fourth lower?
But that doesn't have the operations of the
Right,
The
you do the
flute
same fingering. So
Uh,
I will still be playing the same fingering.
oh.
Yeah, it's a fair thing. But yes, fair what is it called? Observation. Yes, it will sound a fourth lower, but funnily enough, it's almost like for the flute players, it's almost like reading tablature. You have to just give them fingerings, and then the instrument will transpose for them. Yeah.
So one thing on Anthony's thing, one thing I've seen a lot of composers to do is to basically have that C be like an inexact pitch and say be like as close to C as you can get, and then you can like start basically on the A flat and see how high you can get and drop down. You know what I mean?
Yes. I'm trying to do something else, but enough.
Yeah.
Now, glissing down is good, but if I wanted to finger the A flat, because I can only go this high, it's not gonna be enough. So what
Yeah.
I'm doing is just using some fingerings to.
Well, yeah, it's like I know you can't get the C, but it's basically as high, like start on the high bit of the A flat and then get down. You know what I mean? Is the way.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
so that would be a little bit
yeah,
smaller. You can do that definitely. Yeah.
yeah. No, I don't know. It's just,
So is the intent clear the way it's written, or is there a better way to say that where I'm aware you need to cheat, but the sound of it, the way you did it is exactly what I was looking for anyway?
So let me tell you how I interpret that, because the smaller note is small, right? I would actually do something like this. Right? So because I see that A flat, I'm gonna kind of like skip through it and get to the B. Right? I'm kind of like just seeing it that way. Is that how you meant that? Do you see it that way?
No, a little. Maybe the small A flat is a bad idea then, because what I really want is a.
Yeah. So I would actually, what I would do is put a little tenuto marking under the A flat.
Okay.
I mean, the second one is a little bit better.
And I think it depends the A flat and the B natural how fast you want to connect. You want to keep a little longer, or you want to keep a little very short.
It's true. She's talking about, are they connected? How long is the note? How the speed? Everything. You have to consider that, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think I answered that. Let me unshare.
Yeah. All right. So, just going to let me hold off onto that for a second. We're gonna move into things where you do not need air to make things happen. Okay. And again, this is pretty simple. Okay. Remember the breaks I told you about before? Just keep this in mind. Anything that you don't have air is only going to stop at the C sharp, arguably with the keys, E flat, okay? But then you're gonna have to give some extra instructions. So I say C sharp is definitely safe. And anything that doesn't require, it's pretty much just key clicks, right? And key clicks, there's many different ways to notate it. Again, you can always come with your own notation. The typical one is the notation with the X head. And I know that there is a way to find a panel here to do it, but you can find that there is a panel that gives you all sorts of note heads that you can use somewhere.
I think it's in notations and then types.
You got it. Yes.
Yeah, you perhaps need to select a note first.
You're absolutely right. Thank you for being so patient. Yeah. So again, that's a typical notation for thank you. What is it? What did I just talk about? Help. Or no, cross diamond. Yeah. If I make that maybe. Yeah. So that's a typical notation for key click. Okay. And if you put another, let's say, I don't know if I can do this easily. I'm gonna take this down. Again, this is a bad example. but I'm gonna do that. Right? So that means that you would play the note below and hit the key, like, right? That's another way to notate that. But it's the X note head that is very, very, very typical. But again, you can come up with your own notation. Thank you for the Sibelius tech support, by the way, you guys. So anything that is clicking, you know, it's going to be like that. Anything about clicking you want to say?
No, don't think so much.
Okay.
Can I ask a very quick question? When you're like playing a note and then you do that key click on like a key, would that actually like subtly alter the pitch a bit? Because you're like putting it down for like, you know, like clicking it. So I'm just wondering.
I missed the very first part of your question. You mean, is it a trick, you said?
Like what you just did, like, you know, you are playing a note and then you are clicking it. So I'm just guessing when you like having the key down, would it actually alter the pitch of the note you're playing?
Oh, I get it. Yes, it depends. It depends. So for example, if you're writing anything beyond G downwards, you should mark this out. So you should take a note between G downwards. Oh, what am I doing here? I have another camera. Between G downwards, right? It's actually that same key click, right? It's actually the same note. But if you go high like a C sharp doesn't have a key click, right? I have to kick something else. Or B flat, maybe. Because that's not enough of a key click for me. I'll go. So I always hit something very low, like the F sharp key, maybe, right? So, and it changes a little bit about the depth of it, okay? One of the things that I do for key clicks is always hit the G key when I'm not blowing air. And the reason why I do that is because if I was to do the opposite, you get all sorts of things that are not there. Also, you can go upward. If you know, there's no, I have to hit to come upwards as well. So always, you can always tell your flute player, hit the G key. And then you can, you know, you can go any way you want with those guys. Does that make sense?
That's super helpful. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. So yeah, it does change the pitch depending on how you hit. But if you put it really far away from the actual pitch, like a B, if you hit here, it's not gonna affect. But if I play a G and I have to play, I'm gonna sound the F sharp before that. So I don't wanna do that. You're absolutely right. So it depends on how close to the actual note you are. Okay. Other things that don't take air, or a lot of air, are the attacks with syllables. Okay, and there again, there's a plethora of ways how to do attacks with syllables. Right? People write entire syllables. People use the International Phonetic Alphabet as well, and that's great. That's very useful. What I usually ask people is to avoid writing vowels, because really the flute is only going to be pretty much like a E, O, U kind of thing. Would you say, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes people might say sa, right? Well, if you go sa, right, into the flute, sa, it's not going to be as much as you go S. You say, you might want to say, but that's a different thing. That's you're like, so try to avoid vowels. Try to only use the IPA. It's a very, very cool thing to do. Actually, IPA is very cool. You can get your like vowel sound very, very, very clear. Anytime you want to try anything, for example, you want to write something for flute, you don't know if it's going to speak loud, put your hand in front. If you're doing, for example, T, you notice that your hand is going to feel the air. If you go H, it's not going to be so much air, right? If you go CH, you're going to see that there's a lot of explosion in the air. So when in doubt, you can just try it on your hand, right? And it's going to mirror the whole. Some people write B. B is very soft. And again, people like it because it's that soft, right? P is usually named pizzicato, late pitch. And T is also a very, very popular one. But it doesn't go up above C sharp, right? If I try to get to that, I can't. I'm back in the lower octave. So just keep all of them very low. Yeah, it's funny because beatboxing, you can actually notate it very easily. It's just, beatboxing is pretty much just attacks of like, ba, ba. It's very simple. It's just a matter of coordination.
So I had a question kind of on this note. Like you were talking about alternating like different kind of like syllables, etc. Right? So like obviously, like I know that your double tonguing works, like the double and triple tonguing works the same as like brass instrument with the kind of like ticka back and forth, right? We have this like weirder thing which we call like doodle tongue, where like you can kind of get your tongue, like some trombone players and stuff can do it. Do you have like an analog on flute? Do you know what I'm talking about with the doodle tongue?
Doodle tongue, I don't know what that means. No.
It's like you start like multiple tonguing almost like just by catching your tongue in the airstream, but it's like not. It's basically like you flutter so slow that you're multiple tonguing really fast.
You can do that?
No, I can. I heard that. It's like you do flutter down, but you can control the flutter, how fast, how slow.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a great question. I have tried actually. But that's as slow as I have ever been able to get it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It has something to do because the flute you always have to be like really open, and flutter tongue you need to put air through it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There might be some flute players that might be able to flutter much slower.
Yeah, it's like a really hard to articulate thing, you know, talking about like doodle, because it's like it's not quite that, but like if you do like the doodle in your mouth, like you can kind of feel your tongue just moves a little bit. Anyway, I don't want to take up more time in the presentation, but it's somewhere in between that flutter and doing that. It's a really weird phenomenon.
I'm gonna have to practice that. I'm gonna see if I can find that mid in between.
It's really weird when you find the pocket on it. It feels so bizarre. Like,
have you done it or have you tried it?
I think it just need practice because you have control your inside the little tongue.
Okay, it's just controlling. Yeah.
The air.
A note on flutter tongue. Flute players have two kinds of flutter tongue. The one with the tongue where you do right, and the one from the back, which sounds like which is more guttural. Okay. I don't know if you can hear the difference.
Yeah, I can hear the. How would you say to notate each one? I didn't even know that could happen.
You're going to have to specify it in your instruction notes. And again, Fernie Ho just says L flutter for lingual, which means using your tongue, and G flutter for guttural, which means using your throat, right? And the idea behind this is that when you do lingual, the tongue is in the mouth, in front of the lips, interrupting the airflow. But when it's behind, it's the back doing it. So the tongue is down, and you cannot change it. So, for example, if I want a flutter tone high, I'm using the one with the tongue. I can also use the one guttural one. If I am in the low register, if I use my lingual one, my tongue, I start losing my notes because the tongue is getting on the way of the air. But if I use my guttural one, I don't have that problem.
And that's so helpful. I can't do the guttural one, so it had never even occurred to me to write it in.
I was only able to do the r one, and I actually trained myself to do r. And you can train yourself to do it.
Okay.
just get a cat.
I cannot do the big one. I can only do the small one.
Really? Okay, yeah. So again, yeah, in my, I guess I'm lucky enough that I was, that I was able to get both. But I don't know. Maybe there's a way to do. I know that there's something with genetics that some people can do one and not the other. Who knows? So, but yes, you can actually will find some flute players will be able to do one or the other, but they should be able to do both. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't. Don't kill me. She's going like this. She's like, right. So. Cool. Okay. In the so same thing. No air, but in the mouth. Right. We have talked about the jet whistles. Right. So this one is the same thing except with your tongue. And what you do is you use your tongue to hit the part of the flute here. And then you get what they call a tongue ram. And the tongue ram is what it is. You ram your tongue against the flute. Right? There's a lot of tongue rams this summer. We're really happy about it. Some of them, you can actually mix the jet whistle into that. So I'm actually pushing air. You don't have to do it. Right? So it depends. But one thing to remember, it only goes to the C sharp. And then I'm back down to the same one. You can also do flutter tongue inside, right? So you can get all sorts of excuse me, crazy sounds. Okay. Where's the best place to mic the flute? Yes. Okay. Good. I have a clip mic that I put here, and I pretty much put it right there. And what the reason I have a clip mic is because when I'm using this, you can actually hear a lot of the vibration coming into this little clip mic, I think. Okay, but you don't want to put it too close to here because the air is gonna get in the way. So you want to put kind of like the clip mic over here. Otherwise, what I have liked is to put a boom that comes up and downward, right? So that you're playing upwards like that. If you put the microphone down, you're gonna get all sorts of air streams. If you put it up like that, you're gonna get all the sounds that you want. And then you're gonna put another microphone here for any key clicks and whatnot that you want to do. So yeah, it's pretty much in this area and from above. That's what I found is being most helpful for me.
And you do like kind of like sharp cardioids on that to like focus on those two areas, like almost like a hypercardioid, right?
Yes, people. Again, when I have recorded, I have like a microphone here, a microphone here, a microphone at the end. I think like a microphone below, and and then surround. But it's like, I mean, the recording engineer really knows about that. If for performance, one microphone. If you have a clip mic, headset mic, I've actually have used before, but they just come like here, so they're just picking up the frequencies, not so much what is happening here. So. Anything else? These are all great questions.
Quick question about the notation of syllable attacks. So you would notate that by writing out the syllable that you want?
Which technique?
Like for syllable attacks.
Yes, you can just write an IPA. You can write a syllable. You can just write a consonant. Just when you're writing consonants, be mindful that different composers might come from different places in the world. So an Italian composer might use a syllable differently than a German composer. So a CH for Italian might be different than a CH in German. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah. You
just have to be mindful of that. But you can use a number of things. Just stay away from vowels. That's the only thing I say. So I'm going to show you a really good as well.
If I wrote hits like pizzicato, would flutists know to do?
Yes, I would actually write lip pizzicato. There is another notation, and I don't know if Sibelius have it. You guys might know actually better than me. Let me see. There's a head note head, sorry, and I don't see it. That it looks like the accent. It looks like the accent, and then you have Maybe the best way to do is a no stem, maybe. Yeah, let's do that. I'm gonna do that, and then yeah, I'm messing this up terribly. But for example, you can do that, and then I'm gonna say, you know, the accent note, probably this guy, right? So, and then you can have your head, and that's like a D lipids or something like that, like, and that's a typical one. The arrow going sometimes the other way, yeah. So again, you can have that that note head, or you can just write LP, like lip pizzicato, and that's fine too. Again, as long as you explain your notation, it can be anything, right? So just make sure that to explain it. So let me show you a little bit about this guy. This guy wrote for flute and piano pedals. That's only the piano pedals, and the piano has ebows inside the piano. So depending on what you're holding in the piano, it comes up, okay? So let me see if I can make this even bigger. So pretty much what he wrote for me here, right, was 3 staffs. The middle staff is actually the regular note that I'm supposed to be playing. These are kind of like spurs. Spurs is like, like quick burst of energy. And this one on top, this one below, the last one, is actually an S sound. The top one is really, really sharp, and the bottom one is very, very, very dark. So it goes from to, right? So when you're playing this, right, you have this. And what he gives is he already gives like a whole entire array of S sounds from the right. So he changes it from like really, really, really sharp to really, really, really shallow. Okay. Again, that I've never seen any other notation like that. Fair warning, I think his wife speaks Sanskrit, and Sanskrit apparently has a lot of different ways to pronounce the S, and that's how he incorporated that knowledge into this piece. Let's see. I think I'm out of knowledge, guys. Is there anything else you guys mean to try? Questions about anything else that we have spoken before?
If you covered air tones, like air tones with and without pitch.
Yeah. Okay. So again, like everything is gonna have pitch, right? So, and with air tones, if that's what you mean with, or airy tones, maybe. Am I answering the right thing?
I think so, like when you play a pitch that has some of the air noise in it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's always gonna have pitch, right? And the cool thing is that you can actually say more core, less core, or just air, right? I forgot. We have a lot of pieces actually also, because you can have a lot of actually phrases that go from core to air to nothing, just key clicks. So a few of you actually wrote that way, and it's really cool. So yeah, you can use airy tones. The only thing I didn't talk about was whistle tones, and we're going to talk about a piece that was written for um, actually for I forgot which year was it. When it was Chase Jordan? 2017, maybe. Okay. Yeah. So there's many different ways to do whistle tones, and whistle tones again are the ones where you play you finger the fundamental and play very, very, very soft. I don't know if you can hear that very well. I don't know if that comes up across through the computer. So it's like a very, very, very soft way to play that. So we played this before, in which one of us was playing the flute whistle tones, and I was playing the piccolo. Yeah, you want to play a little bit of that? Okay. Cool. And something that we arrived here is really cool. When we're talking about tongrams, now I'm playing the piccolo, and I don't know if you can see it. I'm playing the piccolo. Way's playing the regular flute, So let's try this. Remember? Ready? Okay. So as you can see, when you're doing piccolo stuff tongram, it's going to sound adorable, right? Right? So it's going to sound cute. There is actually a great piece that I played for amplified piccolo, where you have a microphone inside the piccolo by Deals. I forgot her name. She works in San Diego now, composer in San Diego. Chipmunk Rippers. And all her piece, it's all tongrams and key clicks that are super amplified. So it's just like this tiny, like things like that, and they're like, it's really cool. It's with electronics. It's amplified piccolo and electronics. So really cool. Oh, somebody knows Chase. Yeah, we love this piece. We play it often, at least parts of it. Yeah, anything else? Any other questions?
I really quickly threw together some stuff in Sibelius that I was wondering if you could take a look at.
Absolutely.
Okay. So yeah, you don't have to like both play this. I just did 2 lines because I'm really ridiculous like that. But is this how you would notate like harmonic glisses?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Cool.
Yeah, and you might want to experiment with maybe having a square note head, below, or something that says finger this note, but
And
the
then the
sounding
other
pitch
one is the
has to be
sounding one.
this one. But that comes up, with time, right? Yeah, something like that. Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
You wanna play it? You wanna play it first, or? So it's a B. No, it's a harmonic.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things I wanted to let you know is that it's not going to sound as a harmonic the very first notes because those are the second regular octave. So let me put it this way: we're already playing harmonics. It's just that the flute is already done so well that it's not going to come up that way. So we have to fake it. Okay.
Gotcha.
Having said that, if you look at the very last bar you wrote, if you put the lower 2 notes an octave lower, and the first flute, that is.
Okay.
I did not specify. I apologize.
I was about to say I thought the other 2 were completely.
Yeah. So that sounds
strange.
But having said that, if you write all of the upper notes, let's say in the second flute, bar 2, the upper notes, if they were an octave higher, and we fingered the bottom one, try that. Right? So that way you can do it, and then the glide, or you can just do it with the finger lip. But you need to have the memory of saying that second octave of the flute is the first partial, and it's not gonna sound like a harmonic, even though
Gotcha.
Harmonic.
Cool. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Anybody else? Anything else?
Yeah, I have like a little bit question. I'm just curious about, is it possible to do something like this? Like, holding the same fundamental and, glistening different partials of the same fundamental. I think that works for brass, but I don't think I don't know.
Something like that.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, and you cannot go too fast. I don't know. You want to try? Maybe you can go a little bit more specific. Yeah, so it's cool. The tonguing will help to get it a little bit more in.
I see.
So that is the only thing. Now, having said that, that is exactly what happens with whistle tones. But it just happens to be even an octave higher sometimes, or really, really, really high. There's another thing.
I see. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anybody else? Anybody else? Oh, yeah.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Oh, I have a very strange, eclectic question just because I was curious. I'm a clarinet player by trade, and I've been recently figuring out with open hole instruments that certain harmonics and multiphonics are possible by just having your finger go right above and kind of half hitting. So let me see if I can do it.
Yeah.
Is such a thing possible with the flute and with the open holes?
So, I mean, the theory is yes, but it's really, really, really difficult to find that in between that I think you mean, right? It's like doing this, right? So it's just like pressing, but only like a little bit, or just putting your finger like that, something like that.
Yeah, because in theory, it's like the air chamber resonates, but your finger being on top of the air chamber actually causes a weird effect. So
Yeah.
it's like the metal's depressed, but your finger's over the metal.
Yeah. So again, I have not seen a book, for example, that tells you to do that, but that is something that if you let's say if you find out through working with a flute player that that helps to get a harmonic that is or a multiphonic, that is something that you might want to include in the explanation page.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. But I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes, we do that a lot for like tuning. Sometimes when you're playing something and you're a little bit too sharp, you want to just press the key just slightly there, to make it. Okay. Anything else? Shall we call?